I got royalty inside my DNA. I got cannabis, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA. 死んだ天性 I was born like this, it's blind. Immaculate conception, I just felt like this. Perform like this without you, a new weapon. I know I meditate on this that.
Hey guys, if you haven't already, give the video a like, subscribe to my channel. This is a what if series and I'll be doing more down the road. Plus Ultra. Hey guys, and welcome back. Jesus Christ, it has been 11 months since I've been back to this series, and I am sorry for that. I apologize. I did not mean to prolong this series. Escape from this series for that long. Jesus, that's a while. But anyway, I got some good news for y'all. This is going to be particularly like a long episode because I got a lot of stuff to go over and just a lot of stuff to cover and some things to basically talk about with you guys before we start the episode. So, like I mentioned, Isabel in this episode, she's going to be like the Joker to Batman. I'm pretty sure you got that in a few episodes back. But that's the kind of rivalry I wanted to establish with those two. I mean, it's not going to get to that point to where Isabel is killing multiple people that Deku cares about or injuring those that Deku cares about. It's not going to go that far. I mean, at a point in time, she's going to be locked up and stuff like that. But it's kind of similar to that kind of relationship. You will see in this episode. And also something else that I wanted to cover is that Deku, when he was using one for all 100% throughout his body and firing off 100%, 100% shots, it was hurting his body, but he was trying to basically up the percentage of the uppage that he could use. So I want to say that while in the preliminaries, when we get ready to start, Deku can use somewhere around 45% of one for all. Just by channeling throughout his body and everything, I would roughly say he can fire off shots at 45%, but the most he can do in his body, like full counting, is 35%, and that might be lowballing it, seeming as if he did it, like doing it so much, but just trying to keep it entertaining. I don't want to try to make Deku too like OP or too strong to the point he's just one-shotting people all over the place. But anyway, and one thing about Deku's color being purple, like the color of his flames purple and stuff like that, and I'm pretty sure I laid out hints for y'all, but I'll just pretty much let y'all guess. But anyway, let's get back into the episode. So we left off with now everybody going into the preliminary rounds. Now Deku is doing push-ups. He's training, just basically keeping his mind focused. He wants to get stronger just in case that girl comes back to cause more havoc. And it pains him each day and every day that this girl is still alive. He doesn't even know how this is possible, but anything can combat the impossible in this world. So Deku stands up to look in the eye of the teacher Aizawa. Yes, sir. I want to ask you something, Izuku. Real quick. Follow me. So they would go to a secluded area, just like when Todiroki and Deku went to their area, and they would talk. So I want to ask a question. Just give me a specific answer. Your flames are purple. Yet that girl, she had caused you great grief and misery, but she was also emanating this purplish aura. Are you using that as a sign of connected to her? Or is it like a momentum? Or did you just do this on purpose because of what she put you through? Deku would look down. He's never thought of it that way. He would say, when I killed her, my flames turned this dark purplish color. I think it was a way of showing that I had triumphant over her. But I later realized that it just made me more insane. It was just a sign to show that my sanity was beyond repair or something like that. You can say it was a kind of connection to her, but now that connection is even more established right now because she's still alive. My flames are majestic in a way. They change color depending on the emotion that I'm in. I never told anyone that, not those specific details. So you're in constant grief, is what you're saying. No. My flames have indeed did a flicker one time. For one time I thought my flames were white. Really? Yes. I thought my flames had turned white when I was training with Momo. My flames had flickered to white, and when they did, I felt so much relief. I felt so much. It was like the world just left me in this garden, and all I could hear was the call of nature. It was so peaceful. It was the most peaceful thing I ever felt in years. And why do you say that? Being the child that I am. Yeah, I had my mother's love. My mother loved all her children. But it was just our father. The constant grief of not getting my father's acceptance. Was there something wrong with me? Did I do something wrong? You know what even put me in more grief is that I don't know if the bastard even cared about looking for me. But that's another story. Until I handle the difficulties, the difficult times in my battle, in my way, until I achieve my goals, I might achieve that flame. Who knows? Deku starts to walk away. I'm almost there. Now, I got a tournament to win. See ya, Shoto. Aizawa. Well, Mr. Aizawa. As Deku walks away, it leaves Shoto to think about how much pain did this boy endure. And now we get to the preliminaries. Now, I'm going to skip over all the major fights and just get to the fights that I like in this tournament. Now, Deku, when he got to the tournament and he seen this guy, I think the mind controlling guy, I can't think of his name, Shinso. So as Deku walks up in there, he heeds the advice and says, so a guy has some kind of mind controlling quirk? Alright, well, I best just proceed with caution. You know, you're a very, very big coward. And this would make Deku look at Shinso. Hitting a girl like that, what do you got to gain? I mean, what did she do to you? In Heroes Code, in this society we live in, heroes live by a code. I heard rumors that you've nearly killed the villain that attacked you guys in USJ. And this is where Deku would speak about, you do not know what this female has done to me! As he screams out at Shinso, and then all of a sudden Deku's body freezes. Deku would be saying, what? What the hell is happening to me? Now, walk off the tournament stage. And Deku would turn away and just start walking. And this is where Deku would say, why can't I control my body? What the hell is going on? This can't be happening. I can't move. It's just like that time before. When I was strapped in the chair. It's just like before. Deku's eyes would start to cry as tears would start to fall from his eyes as these purplish, now black, they have purple, like black flames are just starting to cover, like erupt from Deku's body. And this is where Deku's eyes would just be flooded with tears as the One For All energy veins, the red veins would be glowing all over Deku's body. And this is where Deku's body would just stop. And then it would turn around and an explosion of power would happen, knocking Deku out of his whole trance. Now Deku would be on the ground breathing heavily. And then Deku would stop. The shadow of his hair is covering his eyes. As Deku stands up, he looks back up with a evil, like not evil, but just like a mad ass grin on his face. Like he, say for example, if somebody put you in a traumatizing state and you got, like how angry would you be? That's how angry Deku is. Now let's get back to the story. So Deku would be walking towards Shinso, and Shinso would just feel this emanating bloodlust just erupting from Deku, and all of a sudden Deku, like pace would just start to speed up and faster and faster and faster until he was right in front of Shinso, and just pushed him. Shinso fell out the tournament very easily, and Deku just said, "Hi, you know you gotta train more, dude. If you're gonna be that easy to defeat, then what's the use of your quirk anyway? You're too dependent on it. See, what you thought I was gonna do is gonna walk directly out of the tournament. My will, or whatever this quirk is inside of me. My majestic flames. It's a mysterious quirk, I guess, but it helped me out. At least that's what I think. Anyway, you need to be more proficient in your art of combat, because you could die if you're not skilled. I mean, your quirk can only do so much." Now this is where Deku would jump down and he would help Shinso up, and he would say, "Don't take this as a loss, but just try to grow from it." And Shinso would nod at Deku and just walk away. Now, the rest of the battles would have went the same. Just Ochako and the Bakugo battle would have went the same. And, yeah, pretty much all that would have went the same, with Bakugo almost accidentally, like, freezing a guy over being angry a little bit, just being angry at his brother. But, yeah, everything will basically go the same. Now, this is where we're skipping forward to the two brothers battle. Now, Endeavor would stop Deku, and Deku would look at him. "If you're going to ask me, if you're going to tell me to make him use his flames or something like that, then you can go straight to hell. I'm not your messenger." And Endeavor would say, that's not what I wanted to tell you. I've heeded your advice, and I just want to tell you, just both of you, as Todiroki was at the end of the hallway, just do a good job. Just try your best and give it your all. Then Endeavor would walk away. Now, this is where Deku would be wide-eyed, and he would feel this type of sadness from Endeavor, like Endeavor having a conflicting moment, or is he going through something, or something about to happen? Deku felt something like inside him, like twitch at this, and it annoyed him. It really did. It ticked him off. Like, what is this coming from? So Deku would just look at Endeavor as he walked away, and he just shakes it off, but it's still there, annoying him. And that same kind of feeling happened to Todiroki. So the both of them would make their way to the tournament, and this is where Deku is basically cracking his knuckles and everything, and saying, "This should be fun. And I'm gonna tell you now, brother, if you don't use your fire, you're not gonna win this battle." As Deku then taps his foot on the ground and creates a small ring of purple flames that surrounds him. Now, this is where Deku activates One For All at 10%. He doesn't want to take it too far. He's just testing the waters right now to see what Todiroki is capable of. Now, Todiroki starts shooting ice at Deku over and over and over again, and Deku is dodging, evading, melting most of it, as some of his flames are just wrapping around the ice before it touches Deku and just melting it completely. You see this? This is a new technique I learned. I don't know what to call this, but it's basically I can attach my fire to an object that is coming at me and basically melt it. It's sort of like giving me multiple, put it like something like Gara Sand, or basically Black Whip, something like that. So as Deku is basically getting the fundamentals of what his fire can do, it's like his fire is just moving around, and it's like, how do I put this? Basically, just say his fire is moving around like it has a mind of its own. But yes, just Deku is showing off the level of control that he has over his flames right now. And Todoroki keeps shooting ice at Deku, and Deku is basically dodging. He's not even using his flames at this point, and now he's just basically dodging, evading, and punching at the ice that that Todoroki is throwing at him. Now Todoroki is breathing heavily. He's just gonna keep dodging, and this is where Deku would just land back on the ground and then jump right back up because Todoroki sent out an ice wave at him that would have frozen him in place. Now this is where Deku would have said, I could have used my fire there, but that's defeating the purpose of this whole battle. If you're not going to use your flames, I'm not going to use my flames. That's an even score. That's how we going to half-ass it, right? And Todoroki, what he's saying is going to say, what do you mean? If we're going to half-ass this battle, then I'm going to half-ass my potential. I'm not going to go at you with everything I have. I'm not going to fight you with 100% if you're not going to give me your 100%. And this is where Todoroki would look at Deku and say, did father put you up to this? Is this some kind of trick for me to use my flames? And this is where Todoroki would say, if you go through life hell-bent on what father did, what his decisions were, his intentions were, yeah, they were ill-mannered and stuff like that, whatever it was. But you have to come to terms with, this is your power, Todoroki. This is your skill. This is your quirk. Be the better person. Be yourself. It's your power, not his. This would spark something in Todoroki, and his body would start to emit in flames, chilling his body, heating up his body and getting rid of the frostbite. Now this is where Deku would smile at this, and his purple flames would cover his body, and he would touch the ground. They would accidentally flicker white, and this is where Deku would say, there it goes again. That feeling. Deku's flames would indeed change a color, but they wouldn't be like, let's say they would indeed change a color, but they wouldn't be white like you're expecting. Instead, it would be more of like a turquoise color, like a greenish bluish color. That's what it'll turn into. And Deku would feel the energy from this. It's so radiant, but it's different from the white flames that he was feeling. To him, those flames felt like heavenly, like they felt godly. It felt something extreme, but what he's feeling from these greenish blue flames is like a level of calmness, peaceful. So Deku, and he at the same time, the fires, the greenish blue flames, they are also making him feel heavily excited and energetic, like he wants to run really across the world. So Deku smiles and he uses 10%. Well, no, he's not going. He's going to go all out. But he doesn't want to kill his brother. Now, Deku is going to use at least 30% of One For All. And that might be too much, but 30% One For All. He's powering up his entire body with 30%. Now, this is where the fires would start to swirl around Deku into this huge, it start to create a figure, and this figure would be made out to be a dragon. The aura would be shaped out to look like a dragon, and Todoroki's eyes would widen, and Deku's eyes would be glowing this bluish green, and he would say, I hope you're ready, brother. This is something I prepared exactly for you. Isn't it beautiful? It's something I once told you about in our childhood. I showed you when we were kids. Todoroki would look at this and he would have a tear fall out his eye because he remembers that memory. And the both of them would charge at each other, doing their signature attacks like they did in canon, but more different, with Deku's being different. And the both of them would hit, clash, and they would cementos, and everyone would try to stop the fight before it happened. Endeavor would be shocked to see it go that extreme, but also very colorful too. And this is where Todoroki would be on the far side of the wall, knocked out, but smiling. Deku would be in the middle of the tournament with his hand held high, battle damaged in the all might pose, with his head up to the sky, smiling, and said, I will become number one, and I will become the next symbol of peace. Deku lifts his hand down and yells out a triumphant scream, but then he goes over to pick up his brother and takes him to the infirmary. And they both smile at each other. And he says, thank you, Isuku. And they would walk off. No, everything playing normal and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just a little take on it. I hope you guys like that. That was quite interesting to see, like, what else I can do. Because remember I said these were majestic flames, and I haven't really been going over that majestic side that much. So in this episode, you're gonna see a lot of things that Deku does that can seem magical and everything, but in terms magical, majestic, yeah. Anyway, let's continue on. So as everyone gets like, we go to the recovery girl to get their wounds hit and everything. Deku didn't really have that much wounds. I mean, he had a few bruises and everything. And the battle was very intense, yeah, but the recovery girl healed his body. She did touch ups pretty much. And when I mean touch ups, very small touch ups. Like I said, Deku's body has a regenerative quirk. Well, he can regenerate. Put it that much. So, anyway. The final battle would be between Deku and Bakugo. The both of them would enter on a stage, and Deku would look at Bakugo, and Bakugo would look at Deku, and the both of them would just be eyeing each other as the audience just are silent. Neither one of them are moved yet. And they have been standing in this position for at least 2 to 3 minutes, just observing each other. Then they would start to walk, but not in a similar fashion of walking towards each other. No, they would walk in a circle. Basically just testing out the waters, but they're keeping their eye on their opponent. Now the audience is looking at Deku and Bakugo, and they are very they don't know what to think. Their anticipation is getting high right now. They're sweating. People are clenching their seats and clenching their fists, just waiting for the other to throw a strike. The audience is not taking their eyes off this battle because they can feel the intensity from these two as the wind is blowing. Deku and Bakugo are eyeing each other, and then all of a sudden, the ground cracks beneath both of their feet, and they rushed at each other with their arms interlocked. Now, this is where Bakugo would throw a punch at Deku, and Deku would throw a kick at Bakugo, and their kicks would collide, sending off a wave, a gust of energy. Well, just a wind gust. Now, the crowd would erupt in a roar, and then their battle would start, getting into a fist fight with each other, appearing all over the stage, and all of a sudden, Bakugo would throw an explosion at Deku, to which Deku would block with his purple flames, and then he would emit out of those flames with a greenish blue fire covered fist and punch Bakugo directly in the face. Now Bakugo would hit Deku directly in his side with an explosion, and Deku would get sent across the stage. Now this is where Deku would smile at this and say, "This guy is incredibly strong, right up there with Todiroki." This is where Deku would clench his fist and power up to 1 for all 30%, and then his flames would erupt over his body. Now this is where his flames would change a color now. They would glow yellow just to match Bakugo's level of tenacity, or just level of fight. So the both of them would be charging at each other, fighting, throwing fists, punches, kicks, and everything. Bakugo is throwing explosions. Deku is throwing all types of fire fists at Bakugo. He's not using deadly attacks like that, but he's just basically hitting Bakugo in the stomach with the fire fist, kicking him to the ground, punching him in the face, and he even did his own type of explosion when Deku claps his hands together and bursts out like some kind of bomb, put it that way, and it would explode, sending Bakugo back. Now Bakugo would be shocked by this, and Deku would be saying, "Oh, that's unique. Ooh, that could be good. I just came up with an idea." And Bakugo would be saying, "What are you talking about?" And Deku would jump back and say, "Bakugo, yeah, I will give you 1,000 points if you can get close to me." This is where Deku would have a bunch of grenades in his hand, and Bakugo would be like, "What? Did you just conjure grenades out of fire?" And these would be like, "These are fire grenades. I would be heavily careful if I were you." So Deku would start chucking these grenades at Bakugo, and Bakugo would be dodging, evading as each one of them explodes, and he's countering the explosion with his own basic attack. Well, basically throwing an explosion directly at Deku. And most of them would just be causing the tournament stage to cause up in smoke, rubble, rocks and shit is going everywhere, and the crowd is basically just looking out with the dust cloud just covering everything. Now Deku and Bakugo would be in the both corner, and Deku would just be smiling at Bakugo, and Bakugo would just have this angry growl on his face and say, "What the hell are you smiling at?" And Deku would just say that this fight, this battle, is so amazing. It's so energetic. I like this. I'm really liking this. I never had this much fun in ages. Well, besides training, but that's mostly trying to improve upon myself. But it's like I never opened up like this and talked. I never understood how fun it could be fighting someone on equal terms. But the tides are gonna turn, Bakugo. You better start getting serious. Now the battle will start to get serious and serious and serious. The crowd is cheering on, and Deku and Bakugo are going at it. Now this is where the tides will start to turn in Deku's favor as he starts to up the percentage of using one for all. And well, he basically, when I said 30%, yeah, Deku's just using 15%. He wanted to test the waters and see what Bakugo can handle, and Bakugo can only possibly handle 10% or less, given the fact that he barely could take up on Deku at 8%. So I'm just gonna say, yeah, less, somewhere around like 8%. So anyway, higher than that, then Bakugo was having a tough time, and he was having a tough time throughout the fight, but he was keeping his pace, but being smart and watching Deku's movements and everything. Bakugo's not as stupid, he's also a genius. He knows how to not give Deku time enough to think, and that's what he's been doing. But although Deku has been playing, like outplaying him too, so while he's not giving Deku time enough to think, Deku has a counterattack for his explosive nature, even setting trip mines or using his fire's mimicry to attach to Bakugo's leg and throw him away from him and give him just a few minutes to create an attack to where Bakugo can't get close to him. And it's been going back and forth with people them using tricks and stuff like that, and Bakugo, basically their match is being played like a chess. So at the first part of the match, it was basically climactic to them observing each other. Then they would start to fight with using their martial arts. Then in the second fight is them using strategy with their techniques, throwing attacks, basically avoiding attacks, and Deku just using bombs and stuff like that, creating things out of fire just to give a competitive edge, making him a long-range fighter, and Bakugo trying to get close to him too. But with his explosions, Bakugo was managing to get to Deku most of the time. And then the third fight is basically them using all out. They're basically every last arsenal they got. Fist, techniques, energy, all that. They were using everything. It's put everything on the battle for round 3. As the both of them are getting into a very hectic and climactic battle, as the destruction of the stage is basically like scattered everywhere. It's just going everywhere at this point. And this is where Deku and Bakugo, like what's the name, are looking at each other, and Bakugo smiles for a minute and said, "This is interesting. I kind of like where this was going." And this is where Deku would say, "See, a good fight can always stimulate the mind of an opponent." And you want to know something else, Bakugo? And this is what Bakugo says. What? Wait. No. Kachan. And Bakugo would be like, "What?" And he would kick Bakugo directly to the ground. And this is where Deku would say, "One for all, full calling, 50%. Deku's eyes would glow green as this greenish energy would glow over Deku, sort of getting back to his original color. Deku would feel this for the first time, and he would be like reminiscent of how this felt to him. And he would rush towards Bakugo and punch him directly in the stomach. Bakugo didn't even see it coming. The flames that were emitting around Deku made him so fast that Bakugo did not see it coming. Bakugo would spit out, his eyes would roll to the back of his head, and he would be knocked out cold. Now this is where Deku would say, "Oh, Jesus Christ, how many colors of this flame do I have? From green to bluish green to purple to... wait, are my fires really are based on my emotions? I thought that was just like a hoax or something I just came up with in the moment. This is interesting. I'm liking where this is going." But Deku also get this sinking feeling in his stomach that girl's still around, and then he feels these purple flames just corrupting his body. He says, "Maybe it's the way my mindset thinks." Like the purple flames were starting to erupt over his body. Then Deku raises his eyebrows and starts to think. He starts to think like fighter-like spirit, and his fire starts to glow from a bluish to a bluish green. Then Deku says, "Okay, so my fire is based on my emotions. This is interesting, and something I can experiment with." So Deku would just start to flicker with this, and yeah, he's the winner of the tournament. Deku would scream out to the top of his lungs to everybody that he's gonna be the next symbol of peace. He's gonna be the next All Might. Deku would say this proudly as the crowd erupts erupts and yells out, saying that, like saying Izuku's name. Now Deku's body would be covered in now a pinkish purplish flame. The purplish flames wouldn't be so much like negative now. It's like coated with this pinkish aura, like mostly pinkish hue. Deku would feel joy from this, and this is sort of a joyous feeling. And these fires, what they do is heavily increase Deku's durability during fight. The heavily increased durability. Now, some of them are, yeah, you got one for all, they increase durability, but when Deku uses these kind of flames, it increases his durability and body protection to a whole new level and everything. Anyway, let's continue on. So after all that happened with the sports festival, Deku got his award and everything. Bakugo came in second place and Todoroki came in third place. Everything would play out with that, and then we get to the hospital. Well, not hospital, Jesus Christ. We get to the school and everybody get their internships. Now, Deku's internship, he would go with Gran Torino. He would still go with Gran Torino, and they would have their whole dispute. Well, not dispute, but everything. And their training just would be very more effective because Deku would take his training more seriously, and he would start to elaborate with Gran Torino, and they would just start to be training on a daily basis. That cold comedic scene with Deku walking into Gran Torino's house and seeing the whole pastry on the ground, thought Gran Torino was dead. That still happened, but yeah. So everything will play out with that. Now, on the train when the Nomu came busting in and Gran Torino said all this, Deku would start to basically rush out with Gran Torino. Yeah, after he told him to stay there, I guess. But he would rush out with Gran Torino. He would be observing the city, and he would then run into Stain. So that whole Tenya Ida thing with Stain would still happen, but it wouldn't happen to an object of its purpose. Now this is where Todoroki would come, because Deku gave Todoroki way better things to get there. He shot something up in the air, and Todoroki instantly knew where that was, because only his brother has purple flames. Something that Todoroki can basically commit. He knows that his brother, flames can change colors, but he changed it into something that Todoroki can commit. If he shot anything up in the sky, his Todoroki would have noticed, I guess. You can say that in the comments. So let's just leave it at that. You can put any color you want in your head, that the ones I've mentioned during this episode, that Deku shot up in the air, and we can just go from there. Anyway, it really doesn't matter. It's just a signal. You get me? It's just a signal. So as Todoroki would get there, Todoroki and Deku would be saying, what's going on? Oh, I'm glad you made it here in time. Now this could be way more easier. This guy has some kind of blood quirk, as I know that when he stabbed Tenya, Tenya told me, he said he got stabbed because the guy ingested his blood, and all of a sudden his body just went paralyzed. Now, Stain, the whole battle wouldn't go the same way as it did in canon. Actually, it would go one-sided. Stain would be getting his ass handed to him. Even though he's fast, even though he has his whole knives and everything, Stain is very acrobatic, jumping around from things to things, place the building like a ninja. But even with all that, Todoroki and Deku Deku using his fire, every fire color that he had, the bluish and green flames, or the green flames what he used for speed, or the pinkish flames what he used for durability, as Stain would try to cut Deku and his sword would break. Now Deku's flames would turn yellow, and all these fists would just start falling on Stain. These fire fists would just start pummeling Stain to the ground, and it would be so many of them hitting Stain over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until Stain is knocked directly unconscious. No getting up, no nothing. At least that's what they thought. Anyway, so as they all cuff Stain, and Deku gives Naruto talk no jutsu / lecture to Tenya Ida for doing what he did. Tenya Ida would tell Naruto that he would tell Deku that he's sorry and it won't happen again. He just felt the urge to get revenge for his brother, and that was something that he had to basically try to overcome or just outcome. It was just heavy for Tenya. So with that happening, they would just talk with each other and everything, and this Nomu would come out of nowhere and grab Todoroki. It wouldn't grab Deku, it would grab Todoroki. Now Todoroki is getting ready to shoot an ice shard directly through the Nomu's head. Endeavor was there, he was about to get ready to shoot like a fire spear, and Gran Torino was about to get ready to jump off the ground, but all of a sudden they seen Stain rip out of his rip out of his ropes, jump up from the ground, stab the Nomu directly in the head, and land right back on the ground. And with Todiroki in his hand. This is where Stain would be emitting a dangerous bloodlust, so scary that Deku body would quiver and shake, and all of a sudden, in just a body aching flinch, like in a reflex, Deku would be right in front of Stain with eyes of insanity, tears coming out of his eyes, and he would hit Stain directly into the ground so hard that Endeavor, the people that were there or surrounding the area, would feel the ground tremble a little bit, and Deku would be standing there, and then he would relax with blood just dripping off his fist. Then Deku would just open his eyes and realize what he did, and he said, "Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that." Deku would then sit on the ground, and he would just say, What was that? This guy, his bloodlust. It was so similar to. Deku would touch his head, and then he would just have this mad grin, like mad angry scowl on his face, and say it's so similar to her. Anyway, now they would make their way to the hospital and get all patched up and stuff like that. Deku's would regenerate from his wounds and stuff like that, but he wouldn't have any wounds. So any bruises that Deku had or just basically damaged, his regenerative factor would have just got ready for that. Then Deku would head back home, and this is where he would sit down with Endeavor, and both of them would have a conversation with each other. And Endeavor would say, "Listen, Izuku, I know that I have not been a great father." He would have a conversation with all his children the same way, but this is something that Izuku and Todiroki needed to hear. Todiroki was there too, and I forgot to mention that. This is something I hate to admit, but I have to, because I was such so prideful. But not a day goes by where I didn't look for you. Whoever took you was smart, very intellectual with what they had to do, how they had to do it, how they had to execute the task to take you. They must have been watching you, and they must have knew you were an easy target. This is where Endeavor would have tears falling out his eyes, and this is the first time that Todiroki has seen him cry. First time. Now Deku is feeling that twitch again, and he starts to get annoyed by it, but then he also starts to feel sympathetic by it. And his flames would turn this emotional like type color. Sort of like, well, his fire isn't erupting. It's more like you can see flickers of colors, like sort of like blue, green, yellow. Yeah, all of a sudden, but you see flickers of white. You see flickers of white sometimes. That's some of the things that Deku's feeling right now from his father. He's feeling this sympathetic need of a forgiveness, but he knows he's not gonna get it because he has to earn it. This is where Deku looks at his father, and he wants to say something. He said, "You were looking for me when you were taken. I was looking for you. I didn't want none of my kids to tell you that because I'm such a prideful bastard. My goals and the way I acted as a father can be shameful, disgusting." His tears are falling out in Endeavor's eyes. This is where Deku, for the first time, felt weak in this moment. He didn't even know what to do. And Todiroki at the same time did the same thing. He fell to his knees. Both of them boys were speechless. They didn't know what to say or do. Hey guys, if you made it this far in the episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel and show your support. I really appreciate it. Back to the episode. Now, the boys are so conflicted with what's going on that they don't really know how to answer his questions, as Endeavor continues on and says, "I was such an asshole to a father, to your mother, everything that I've done, the pain that I've caused, even to my own children. I can't even look at myself in the mirror sometimes. really can't. And Deku would stand up, and he would just walk out. And Todiroki and Deku would just be left in there with tears falling out their eyes. Sad. And that's where I'm going to end this episode at, you guys. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the episode. And until then, I'll see you in the next video. So, let's get back to that original outro. You feel me? You guys have a good day, a good night, and plus ultra. Good night, guys.
君の虜になって